Rusame reader, Crow Song! And today I will be reading to you from Stars and Moonflowers in Our Garden by RainbowStar_772. That's me! Now, on to Chapter 6, Writing Responses and a Crow. America yawned a bit as he got up. He'd fallen asleep an hour after midnight. It was now 6:30 and the sun was still low in the sky. He had gotten most of the way through his response letter before deciding to rest. He grabbed the letter and placed it, a couple sheets of paper, and an envelope in his bag, placing it in a folder before doing so to protect it from any folding or damage. He then got into his proper work outfit, slinging his messenger bag over his shoulder. He then headed off, grabbing himself a snack he'd snagged from the market the last time he went to town. He walked through the early morning air, smiling as he felt the cool morning air. Soon he arrived at his office and walked in. He then put his messenger bag down, going to finish up a small report on Italy's stubbornness in receiving proper treatment. After that, he reviewed the reports from the previous week. When he was content with his knowledge of the treatments he'd administered and their effectiveness, he took out the letter he was writing. He continued writing his response with a happy smile. He chuckled to himself while answering the lightly crossed-out question, finding himself fond of Neex's care to not ask a question that may cause discomfort. He then just quietly hummed as he continued writing. He heard someone come in and looked up. He smiled a little when he saw that it was Russia. He was happy that the prince was taking up his offer. It meant he wasn't alone during all hours of work, and Russia was good company. Even if he knew that he'd not be able to compose himself off shift with Russia, he was glad he could hold an air of professionalism near him. He'd be able to function, though definitely be flustered in Russia's presence. He wouldn't mind spending time with him outside of his shift. "So, what are you up to?" Russia asked. Only then did America realize he hadn't said anything, just smiled. He'd kept writing, but when he checked, he was thankful to find he hadn't written anything that he'd been thinking about. "Someone wrote me a letter. I wanted to finish off my response to him," America said, dipping his quill in the inkwell. "I didn't last night, so I'm going to now. I wanted to send it on my way here this morning, but I didn't finish it last night," he bashfully admitted. His tone did not display his bashfulness, but he was glad it didn't. It would be far too embarrassing for him. America heard Russia hum to himself and then continued writing, quickly finishing up the rest of the letter. He lightly capped the inkwell with a happy hum. He then watched the ink, waiting for a moment for it to dry before he folded the letter up, taking the envelope out of its bag and tucked the letter into the envelope, then lightly sealed it. He wrote, "From Aku to Neeks," on the back of the envelope, using the last of the ink from his quill before putting it away. America walked over to his mostly cleared pile of supplies and began to go through it again. He then quietly hummed after a moment. "You ate breakfast this morning, right?" he asked, looking up from his sorting to check Russia's response. "Yeah, I did. I was actually up early this morning," Russia responded, smiling. America found himself relieved and smiled. "That's good to hear. I was worried about that yesterday," America admitted. "I hope you're in the habit of getting proper rest and eating properly," he added, taking a handful of normal first aid supplies to a drawer. America continued working and then lightly hopped as a thought came back to him. Oh, if you don't mind, pass a message on to your father, Soviet. America started. He'd remembered the reports from this week. Tell him to drop by. I have a couple status reports to hand over. America finished. He had more than a couple reports to hand over, but that wasn't here nor there. Russia seemed shocked for a moment before responding. He then shrugged a bit. I will. Anything else? America thought for a second before responding. Please tell him to leave me and my gay panic alone. America then paused, then spoke again. He probably won't listen, but it's worth a shot, he said with a light shrug. He'd picked up a vial of general area number and put a packet of powdered curse eliminator. Both were magical treatments and belonged in the cubby with his disinfecting water. How old are you? Russia asked after a long moment of silence. That came out of nowhere and caused America to jump a bit. His hair poofed up, being an extreme tell for his emotions. I didn't mean to be rude. Russia started to apologize. I'm 24, same as you, America said, gently smoothing his poofed up hair. Sorry about that reaction. You just surprised me, he admitted, a light blush finding its way onto his cheeks. He shook his head a little, getting the blush to disappear from his face. Soon enough, he felt the small bit of heat leave his face. Then he looked at Russia. Thankfully, Russia hadn't noticed him blushing out of embarrassment, which he was infinitely thankful for. Or, if he had noticed, he wasn't questioning it. After a long moment of silence, America went back behind his desk and pulled out a couple things. I don't have much here, but if you want lunch, I have this, he said, giving Russia one of the bags he'd grabbed. Both bags contained mixed nuts. I also have beef jerky in my bag. I wouldn't mind sharing it, America said, a small smile finding its way onto his face. He wouldn't have offered this usually, but it was 12:36. It was a generally accepted lunchtime, and he'd figured the other might be hungry. Thank you. I also wouldn't want to take anything more from you, Russia said, a smile on his face. I wouldn't have offered if I had minded, America said, grabbing the bag of beef jerky from his bag. Russia accepted and took one of the pieces of jerky and ate it. America smiled and started to eat himself. After the two were done eating, America spent the rest of his time idly chatting with Russia and sorting through the last remaining things from the box yesterday. Soon it was 4 p.m. He had 2 hours before his shift would be over, though it certainly wouldn't feel as long as he had a bit of company. I probably won't be in my office tomorrow. Sorry, America said, remembering he had to go out to collect some herbs and snacks for his office. But I have something for you if you need to contact me. America went back behind his desk and pulled out a bluish-purple stone. It was a teleportation stone. He'd gotten it from Japan. He placed it in Russia's hands and smiled softly. That's a teleportation stone. It'll bring me to you. However, if it's not a pressing matter, I'd ask you to call out to Samuel. Who's Samuel? Samuel is a crow, but I wouldn't call him a pet. America said, then whistled. He's more akin to a familiar for a witch. An obsidian black crow cawed and landed on America's finger. The crow was smaller than an average crow. But I'm no witch. I'm just a healer. So I don't know what to call him, America said with a bright smile. Father, a crave cuddles, the crow grumbled. Samuel, this is Russia. Russia, America pronounced, carefully teaching the bird how to say the prince's name. Russia, the crow repeated, then preened at the praise it received. America petted the crow's head and smiled at Russia. If you call him, he'll come to see what is up, now that he knows you, America said. Though you should probably say something so he knows your voice. Hello, Samuel, Russia greeted, reaching a hand out to pet the crow. The crow cawed at him and hopped onto his hand. Is this normal? Russia asked. No, America was cut off by the crow cawing at Russia. Samuel started hopping on Russia's hand and messing with his hair. And that isn't either, America mumbled. Looks like Samuel really likes you. What is he doing? Russia asked, trying to coax the crow away from his face. He's treating you like another crow, specifically family, America said before whistling again. He's friendly with most people, but only does that with me. Congratulations, you have a life partner, America jokes, smiling and chuckling. Samuel flew back and landed on America's finger, before looking at America, then Russia. Russia's papa, the crow cawed. America flustered and lightly scolded the crow in Latin. Russia nervously laughed and pet the crow's head. And that's the end of this chapter. I hope you enjoyed. Anyway, I'd like to invite you to join the Discord, which is linked down in the description. That being said, I hope you have a nice rest of your day, night, or whatever it is for you. Just enjoy your time. And I will see you tomorrow.